Hello! Today's stories come from r/ProRevenge. We've got 3 stories. First up, I knocked the divisional manager off his pedestal. I work for a large global IT company. In my team, we are part of a larger, extended team, and an even larger still divisional team. The manager of this division is called Raj. He's based in the States, and so is what many would call the poster boy definition of a corporate suck-up. According to him, he is in constant video chats with the CEO and has a lot of face-to-face interaction with him. He also appears on much of our division's promotional emails and photographic material, so he's a company-wide recognized person. As for me, I'm a trench-working techie from Scotland. My direct manager is always happy with my performance, and I am somewhat known in our extended team, but not so much in the divisional team. Until this event, which was a while before the vid breakout, although I was aware of Raj and his reputation, I had never worked with him directly. I got invited to a company-wide collaboration event in America, which we usually use for technical training and innovation discussion. We got there, and there were some initial social events and meet and greets. Raj was amongst the group, and his general demeanor seemed appropriate for the reputation which followed him. We went into the first day bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I was assigned to a group of 10 people to work on a problem with some coding. All was going well until we came to do some group presentations. For our group, a young woman named Natalie was speaking for our results. It all seemed to go okay, but after the session was over, Raj asked to see Natalie out in the hall. From inside the room, we could hear Raj literally screaming at her. Many offensive slurs were used, and we could hear banging on the wall as well. Natalie returned to the room a sobbing mess, much to the shock of everyone. Raj returned as if nothing had happened. This pattern continued over the course of the week. Raj would single out people for these one-on-one performance critiques. He would go into detail about how work was substandard and how they needed to improve, all while taking group photos for corporate comms for the higher-ups, orchestrating shots to make us all look like one big, happy family. I spoke to some of my own team back home about this in my downtime, and it does turn out that this has always been rumored behavior for him. Just no one ever knew someone who had experienced this before. I don't know what the job culture is like for this role in a place like America, but here we have dignity at work regulations. Performance criticism is fine, but not when you are engaging in ritualistic humiliation of your employees. I knew exactly what I was going to do. For the next few days, I made sure that I was delivering more presentations than anyone else, and really making an effort to attract attention. As hoped, he asked me for a chat and pulled me into the hall. He didn't wait for the door to close before starting his rant. Experiencing it firsthand was interesting. He claimed I had no idea what I was talking about, even though it had likely been about 20 years since he did any technical work himself. He was vile, shouting and spitting in my face. I also learned what the banging noises were. He would punch doors and slam his hands on the wall near me, as if to try and intimidate me. I was prepared mentally, though, and just smiled and nodded during the entire rant. He looked angry that I was reacting this way, and by the end of it, I thought he was legitimately going to burst a blood vessel. When he was finished, I asked him if he was done. He told me to get out of his sight, and that's when I did it. I gave him a Glasgow kiss. For those unfamiliar, it is a headbutt, and it is not the first headbutt I've delivered in my life, having been brought up near Glasgow. He collapsed to the floor in shock, holding his nose, which didn't bleed unfortunately, looking up at me. I leaned down, and in my most Glaswegian accent, I whispered to him, "If you ever disrespect me or my colleagues again, I'll kick the utter crap out of you next time, you runt." I went back in the room, while he did not. Inevitably, I got the HR call. Raj was in the room as well, and I could see that he had 2 black eyes as a result of the headbutt. I was asked to explain myself, and I told the truth, mostly. I explained about his abusive behavior, but focused specifically on the hand slamming and how it had been really intimidating. It hadn't really, but I massively played up on this aspect of the encounter. I described the headbutt as a reaction when he slammed the wall right next to my head with his hands. I wasn't sure what story he had told them, but I was sent away after this. I ultimately ended up with a disciplinary on my record, but no further consequences. Other team members were interviewed over the next few days, and once the pattern of abuse was established, Raj was terminated from the company. The most satisfying part of this was the day after, when everyone on the course went out for dinner. Natalie insisted that he stand next to her for the division group photograph, black eyes and all. I have to think that photograph contributed to his downfall in some way. Well played, OP, well played. I'm not surprised there's no police file here, given that Raj was threatening and berating everyone, practically assaulting each employee and colleague. OP just accepted the invitation that Raj was throwing out on the daily. Let's hear what others have to say. Here I was thinking you'd have recorded his outbursts. The Glasgow kiss and putting him in his place is much better. The black eyes were the cherry on top. Oh, that is just chef's kiss. The shouting is bad enough, but the display of punching and slamming the walls and doors would certainly not be tolerated. Violence isn't the answer. Violence is the question, and the answer is yes. Violence isn't the answer. I know, I gave the wrong answer on purpose. Here I am thinking of all the American ways of handling it. OP is all, you don't have to come to Scotland, Raj. I'll bring Scotland to you. Thank you for sharing your culture. Second story, owners didn't want to give me what I deserved. Now they are about to lose a $3 million contract because I resigned. Edit. I apologize for the length of this, but I finally stuck it to my bosses and I couldn't be happier. I am a young project manager for an unlimited commercial general contractor. I picked up a hammer for the first time 6 years ago, no prior experience. I was raised believing if you work hard and apply yourself, you will be successful. For 2 years, I learned everything that I could in the construction industry, took my work home with me, and studied on my own time to better myself. For that, I was promoted to foreman. I was brought in to take over a small project at a 12-building, 120-unit condo complex. It started small, and the board of directors for the HOA told me they love my professionalism, work ethic, and ability to complete projects on time and under budget. We won a big contract because of that small project. That was 3 years ago. I have since taken over the job of foreman, superintendent, and project manager. I do the billing, meetings with engineers and board members, scheduling, takeoff, material ordering. I even train the subs on application of new products because we didn't have enough mid-management. The project just passed $2.7 million. We got a bid request for another $3 million job in the same complex. All the while the board of directors telling me how appreciative they are and how they've gone through 5 different contractors in the years before committing to my company because of my management and quality of work. This boosted my confidence, and I went to the owners asking for the raise they promised me 1 year ago for my production. They told me, the experience you're gaining is far more valuable. I said, you're right. I put my resume on public, got contacted by a headhunter, just accepted an offer this week for $80K a year salary, plus full benefits, 28 days paid time off, including holidays. I'm in the office now, no more working from the field full in my own truck. Laptop, Wi-Fi in my truck for on-the-go billing when I visit the out-of-state projects, $80 per diem, 100% matching 401k for the first 3 years of my employment, and quarterly bonus programs. The company I'm with now only pays me $40K, and that's it. None of the above-listed benefits. The final nail in the coffin was when the owners bragged about how much my project made in a company meeting, and then denied me a Christmas bonus. I laid this offer on their desk Friday and watched their jaws hit the floor. I told the HOA board president of the project I'm running about my resignation when they couldn't match my offer. His eyes got big and requested a meeting with the owners and expressed serious concern about moving forward with the new project without my involvement. They don't have anyone to replace me, and I'm not going to lie, it feels good to hurt their pockets when I gave them everything I had for 6 years and only asked for the median project manager salary. F those greedy bastards. This is all too common. People move up in the company and they don't get compensated for taking on more work. I think OP made the right call. I'm not sure it was that vengeful. I wonder if others think so. I love this misconception of how they think you're smart enough to do the job, but not smart enough to know your worth and look elsewhere. Yep, looking for a dumb unicorn. What's amazing to me is how common this story is. Companies don't seem to want to change the current status of employees and retain anyone. Instead, would prefer to go through training and rehiring again and again, and often they end up paying the new person more than the raise they could have given. It's better in the current culture to quit and move into a new company or job where you can set a higher rate. I know in my jobs that fall under union contracts, there is usually a raise or bonus program. That should be normal in a contract for anyone. And for our third story, so I recently had a run-in with UPS. I posted this to Petty Revenge, but it got removed and I was told to post it here. Enjoy! UPS smashed a nearly new MacBook that I sent with them. I asked them nicely to pay me back for it, and they arsed about blaming me, blaming my packaging, saying it was impossible they damaged it, etc. I was able to prove my packaging was flawless and get a statement from the Apple shop that I took it to say it was damage caused by being dropped/thrown. I could also prove it worked when I sent it. They weren't interested and messed me about for weeks, sending me from pillar to post, even threatening to make me pay interest on customs charges, which I wasn't liable for as the laptop was smashed on arrival and thus worthless at import. I took it to small claims. They hired a lawyer who sent me letters saying they contested it and would go for full fees, etc. if I lost. I went for it anyway. I did Law Stuff University, so I knew the basics, and I thought my case was pretty clear-cut. I won. I won my costs back plus extra plus interest. They ignored the court order and did not pay. Now, this laptop was originally being sent to my beloved mother-in-law. She asked me to help her with the problem as UPS were also seriously harassing her for the customs fees. However, very unexpectedly, before I could resolve it, she passed away. It was the last thing she ever asked me to do for her. I love that woman more than pretty much any human on this planet. She was my mother, my best friend, and my mentor. Taking down UPS was now my personal vendetta. I researched my options. I could have taken the usual, more conservative legal routes to reclaim my money. But no, F them. I don't care about the money anymore. I want revenge. I want drama. I want karmic justice. I went to the High Court. I got a writ of control. I, of course, added on more fees and more interest. I then hired the most aggressive bailiff firm in London. I trusted that the crappy processes and attitude of UPS to mean they would ignore the letters and actually get a visit. They did. The bailiffs rock up at UPS headquarters and explain the situation. UPS refused to pay, so the bailiffs start listing goods. Security try to make them leave. The officer manager tries to bully them out. Obviously, no craps are given by the bailiffs, and they crack on with their jobs. I wasn't allowed the body cam footage, but they did send me a detailed report. The final conclusion is copied from it below. Calls were then made to the accounts manager, who arrived in a hurry. As no payment was forthcoming from them, the agent again explained the removal process and costs involved and called the office for approval to begin removals. The agent began to seize assets. The finance director then arrived on the scene. He was not at all happy about the attendance, but ultimately agreed to pay a voluntary payment in full from his personal account in order to stop the removal. I know it's a drop in the ocean to UPS, but I got more than double what I originally asked for to replace the laptop. They would have had to pay even more on top in fees to the bailiffs. I reckon it cost them at least 3 times more than the original claim in the end. But mostly, I just enjoyed the mental image of the flustered finance director and his impotent rage. Having to pay his own money to stop the heavies taking desktop computers and fancy pot plants and things out of their swanky head office lobby. This is brilliant. I absolutely love it. I didn't even know this was an option. Other people should definitely explore this. Here I thought corporations could just do whatever they want. Curious to see if other people are as oblivious as I am. I took an airline to small claims 3 years ago. They ignored absolutely all correspondence, even registered mail from the court, and I ended up with a default judgment in my favor. I also had to send a bailiff to get my money, which played out in a similar way to this story. Very satisfying conclusion. I had considered trying to have the bailiff seize an airplane, but figured that was too much work. In the end, just threatening to walk away with their office equipment was enough. That's how they do it in the US. First blame inadequate packaging, then refuse to pay. This is why I saved the original shipping boxes for high-dollar items like that. If you can deliver it to me in one piece in that box, you can deliver it back in one piece. OP. This is exactly how I shipped it, in the original shipping boxes. To preface this comment, I'm DOT certified in hazmat transportation, so I kind of know what I'm doing. Once, about 5 years ago, I had a package that I did a claim on. UPS stated that it was our fault and that damage was due to insufficient packaging. The package in question was a crushed box of auto paint that had tire treads on the box. Normally, they just toss the box and tell us to pound sand, but for some reason, they sent us the remnants of this box, which allowed us to make a point of showing how stupid their excuses were. We sent them a picture of the box and asked them what cardboard box they recommend to withstand a semi-truck. We got a check in the mail shortly after that. F shipping companies. If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.